When discussing the 2026 Los Angeles Lakers, there is at least one point that nearly everyone can agree on. As the roster is currently constructed, this is not a championship-caliber team, and there is still a significant gap to close before they can realistically contend. That much is obvious to anyone watching. However, once you move beyond that surface-level consensus, a more uncomfortable question begins to emerge, one that very few people seem willing to address directly. Among the team's so-called Big Three, who is actually the weak link holding the group back? Is it Luka Doncic? Is it Austin Reeves? Or could it possibly be LeBron James? At first glance, that might sound like a trick question. But when it comes to NBA media narratives, one thing feels almost guaranteed. LeBron James is rarely the one who will be blamed or labeled as the weak link. Yet, when you take a closer look at the numbers, the advanced metrics, and the actual game film, a different picture starts to form. Statistically speaking, LeBron appears to be the least compatible piece among the trio. In fact, there is a strong argument that he is the one dragging the team down. Consider the two-man lineup data. When Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic share the floor without LeBron, the Lakers post a net rating of plus 4.7. Pair Luka with LeBron, and that number drops to plus 3.5. Even more concerning, the combination of LeBron and Reeves results in a net rating of minus 4.7. These figures are not opinions or interpretations. They are raw, objective data points that exist without bias or agenda. However, speaking of agendas, it is impossible to ignore how media narratives and fan perspectives shape the conversation. Many LeBron supporters consistently push back against any suggestion that he could be part of the problem. Instead, criticism is often redirected toward Luka Doncic or even Austin Reeves. For these individuals, the idea that LeBron himself might be contributing to the team's struggles is simply too difficult to accept. So when someone raises the question, are the Lakers actually better without LeBron? The response is almost immediate and defensive. The typical rebuttal goes something like this: "We're talking about LeBron James here, an all-time great. I don't like these narratives being pushed about him. Especially if this could be his final season with the Lakers. He deserves more respect. Regardless of whether he's on or off the court, this team isn't a championship contender anyway." While that sentiment may sound reasonable on the surface, it ultimately avoids addressing the core issue. It leans heavily on legacy, reputation, and past achievements rather than engaging with current performance or fit. This becomes even more evident when former NBA players weigh in. Those who have played against LeBron or know him personally are often reluctant to criticize him directly or hold him accountable for the Lakers' struggles. Take, for example, comments from DeMarcus "Boogie" Cousins. Instead of presenting concrete data or making a structured argument, his defense of LeBron revolves around general statements. He doesn't like the criticism, believes LeBron is being devalued, and emphasizes the importance of respect, even referencing the 2020 championship. While these points may carry emotional weight, they lack substance. What's offered is largely filler, passionate, perhaps, but not analytical. At the same time, there is an acknowledgement that this current era may simply be coming to an end. Even in those defenses, there are hints that both LeBron and the Lakers might be ready to move on. Still, the emphasis remains on respect rather than performance. But respect, as the saying goes, is a two-way street. Those who want it must also give it. If we return to the data and on-court evidence, the narrative that LeBron no longer fits with this version of the Lakers begins to look less like speculation and more like reality. Over the past 2 seasons, the numbers tell a consistent story. The Luka Reeves pairing without LeBron boasts an impressive plus 18.1 net rating. Reeves with LeBron sits at just plus 1.0, while the Luka-LeBron combination actually dips into negative territory at minus 1.4. These are not cherry-picked stats, they are part of a broader pattern. Within this Big Three, LeBron is the outlier, the piece that disrupts the overall chemistry. Despite this, the broader media landscape continues to frame the conversation differently. If you examine daily coverage, especially over the past month, or even since Luka joined the Lakers, you'll notice that Luka Doncic has faced far more scrutiny than LeBron. This stands in stark contrast to the long-standing claim that LeBron is the most criticized player in the league. Instead, Luka has been under a microscope with constant discussions about his conditioning, defense, and overall impact. Even when Luka makes visible improvements, arriving in better shape, appearing on the cover of Men's Health and demonstrating commitment to his craft, the criticism persists. Analysts often shift the focus to his defensive limitations, arguing that his shortcomings on that end of the floor are a major reason for the team's struggles. The argument goes that you cannot effectively play Luka alongside both Austin Reeves and LeBron due to defensive concerns. Meanwhile, LeBron is frequently given a pass, with age cited as a convenient justification. He's in his 40s, after all, whereas Luka is only 23. This double standard becomes difficult to ignore. On one hand, Luka's defensive inconsistencies are highlighted repeatedly, often framed as the team's central issue. On the other hand, LeBron's limitations, whether due to age, effort, or fit, are downplayed or excused entirely. This selective criticism creates a skewed narrative that does not fully align with what is happening on the court. To be fair, Luka Doncic is not a perfect player. Defensively, he can be inconsistent, ranging from below average to occasionally serviceable. That is a legitimate critique. But when that critique is amplified to overshadow all other factors, especially when LeBron's own shortcomings are ignored, it begins to feel disingenuous. It starts to look less like objective analysis and more like an agenda. This pattern is not new. Historically, LeBron's teammates, particularly during his time in Los Angeles, have often absorbed the majority of the blame. Anthony Davis is a prime example. Despite being an elite defender who frequently covered for LeBron's mistakes, Davis was routinely criticized for not scoring enough, for not delivering 30-point performances consistently. Now, with Luka, the situation is reversed. He provides the scoring, but his defense becomes the focal point of criticism. In both cases, the underlying expectation seems unrealistic, a demand for a flawless, do-it-all player. Ironically, that ideal player already exists in basketball mythology: Michael Jordan. The expectations being placed on LeBron's teammates, elite scoring, lockdown defense, efficiency, leadership, mirror the qualities often attributed to Jordan. In essence, what some fans seem to want is not a realistic co-star, but a perfect, all-encompassing figure. Meanwhile, when you actually analyze Luka's recent performances, especially after the All-Star break, his defense has shown noticeable improvement. Against Boston, he held his own, moving well and taking on the challenge of guarding Jaylen Brown for extended stretches. Against Phoenix, he played solid defense through the first 3 quarters before fading late. And against Denver, he was active, engaged, and genuinely effective. These are not isolated flashes, they suggest progress. Yet, the overarching narrative remains unchanged. Luka's defense is the problem. Even Luka himself has acknowledged this disconnect, noting that strong defensive performances rarely receive attention. And he's not wrong. The narrative often seems predetermined, regardless of what actually happens on the court. A significant part of the issue lies in perception. Many fans and analysts still view LeBron through the lens of his prime, the dominant force he once was. But that version of LeBron no longer exists. The current iteration, while still highly skilled, is not the same player. And when you factor in his max-level contract, the gap between perception and reality becomes even more consequential. At this stage, his presence may be limiting the team's flexibility and overall effectiveness. This is further supported by lineup data. The Lakers' most successful 5-man units consistently exclude LeBron. Their top lineup, featuring DeAndre Ayton, Luka, Rui Hachimura, Jake LaRavia, and Austin Reeves, posts an outstanding plus 39.7 net rating per 100 possessions. The second-best lineup, which swaps in Marcus Smart, still delivers plus 18.7. The third and fourth best combinations continue this trend, all centered around Luka, Reeves, and Hachimura, with no LeBron in sight. A clear pattern emerges. Luka appears in all 4 of these top lineups, Reeves in 3, and Rui Hachimura in all 4. This is not coincidence, it is evidence of fit. Hachimura, in particular, complements Luka and Reeves far more naturally than LeBron does. While LeBron may still be the superior individual player in a vacuum, basketball is not played in a vacuum. Fit matters, and in this context, Rui provides spacing, efficiency, and a more seamless integration into the system. The shooting numbers reinforce this point. LeBron's field goal percentages, particularly from mid-range and 3-point territory, have declined. His three-point shooting is at its lowest level in a decade, and his corner three efficiency is especially poor, just 10 makes on 40 attempts. In contrast, Rui Hachimura is thriving, shooting in the high 40s overall and an impressive 44.2% from beyond the arc, ranking among the league's best. From the corners, he converts at over 41%, making him a reliable floor spacer. All of this leads to a difficult but increasingly unavoidable conclusion. LeBron James, in his current form, may be the primary factor holding this version of the Lakers back. His on-court fit with Luka and Reeves is questionable, and the off-court media attention he attracts adds another layer of distraction. The constant narratives, debates, and commentary, whether from major outlets or individuals within his circle, create an environment that can feel overwhelming and, at times, counterproductive. If the Lakers are serious about building a true championship contender, they may need to confront this reality head-on. The next window of contention might not begin until after LeBron's tenure in Los Angeles comes to an end. Whether that happens through retirement or a move elsewhere remains to be seen, but the direction of the team's future seems increasingly tied to that transition. And with that, the discussion comes full circle. The question that few wanted to ask at the beginning, who is the weak link, now has a more complex, data-driven answer.